Each week I've decided with this because some of you aren't familiar with the Aramaic scripture that much. So I'm going to add a little bit about the Bible each week. So this week, you want to read that one?
The Bible is a witness to God's revelations and inspiration for the benefit of humanity. One may refer to this sacred book as a guide to lead humanity to God, that is, to peace, harmony, health, and prosperity.
Okay, so this is a little different than what some Christian denominations teach, that the Bible is the absolute authority of God, um, and Dr. Lamsa has explained in this way that the Bible is sacred, and his belief was and is that yes, the Bible was in story was inspired by God, but but it was inspired by God through the experiences of man and their their experiences with God. So each week we'll do a little more, and of course we have to understand that the Bible was written to and for the people of the Semitic culture of the ancient Near East. And what that really means for us is that we need to understand their culture, uh, and the way the way that they thought, the way that the translation from the Aramaic language is, in order to understand the real heart of the Bible and the stories in the Bible. And of course, particularly with the book of the Revelation, you cannot always take it literally. And okay, and we had this last week. And so I wanted to add on to this week. The final apocalypse, the final part of this revelation, we need to remember as we go through, it is not about doom and destruction, as is as is what happens with what we call the rapture, or what many theologies call the rapture. So we're working here because remember, we're talking about Jesus. Jesus was not violent, and Jesus was not about to bring doom and gloom. And so we're going to find out why as we go on. Okay. All right. This is for you, Maverick. The number 7. All right. Basically, the number 7, it is a sacred number, and it means completeness. All right. Now, why is it a sacred number? Well, remember back in the ancient days, they only had the universe.
Excuse me.
Hold on, just
go ahead.
Hold on. Okay. They only had the universe and whatnot. So there were 7 planets, the sun, moon, and the 5 planets. And they came up with 7 days of the week based on, they did do astrology per se. And so that's why it is a sacred number. And I added in here, all right, we didn't talk about this last week, but the book of the Revelation is all 7s. Okay. There's 7 basic visions, which is what we're going to focus on. And then each one of those is divided into 7 subordinate visions. And the entire book is in multiples of 7. All right. And then you will remember, or if not, you can read it up, but in in Genesis, there were the 7 wells of Abraham. And then when it's used figuratively in the New Testament, you'll remember that Jesus said, "No, you don't forgive your neighbor only 7 times, but 70 times 7." So you will see 7 throughout, and not just in the prophecies, but it's just the sacred number. And of course, now we go and see. All right, so we're going to go. What we're doing. We're picking up. It actually starts at 110. The vision starts at 110, but I'm doing this first because we're talking about 7. So Revelation 1:12, okay. And I turned to see the voice that spoke to me. And as I turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks. So I'm going to talk about this first, and then we'll go back to verse 10. Okay. 7 candlesticks. And you'll notice I have the menorah up here too. The 7 golden lampstands, or candlesticks, represent the 7 light centers, which were the 7 churches of Asia Minor, the 7 churches we talked about and we had the map last week. Okay. And why don't you go get that? Maybe somebody wants to go in. The 7-branched candlestick, which is the menorah, also was in the temple. It was in the main part of the temple where only the priest could go. Now, all right, and then gold, it's golden, and gold is purity. Okay. I also put here, just for understanding, that now, nowadays, if you look at a menorah, modern day, you will see 9 candles. Now, I'm not sure why that changed, but I just thought I would put that in there in case you noticed that, because I did. Okay. Can you hold on for just a minute? Let me stop for just a second.
Velma can't get in. Here, she's on.
Pardon me just a minute. We have somebody that can't get on. Velma, what's the problem? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Just never mind. Hold on. Let me go look. Hold on. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, so back to the 7 candlesticks. And so the 7 candlesticks are the 7 churches. Gold is pure, perfect. And the metaphysical meaning of these things is the menorah, the candlesticks mean illumination and understanding. And then metaphysically, the 7 branches symbolize love, light, wisdom, truth, power, beauty, and life. So, and once again, gold denotes purity and originality. So we've got John. Now remember, this is a vision, which is what we're going to see next. Okay, Martin, go ahead and read these scriptures. Right.
The spirit of the prophecy came upon me on the Lord's day, and I heard behind me a great voice as of a trumpet saying, "What you see, write in a book and send it to the 7 churches, to Ephesus, to Smyrna, and to Pergamos, and to Thyatira, and Sardis, and to Philadelphia, and Laodicea."
Laodicea. Yeah. Okay. So here's where we know that this is a vision. Okay, and this is mysticism, one of our 7 keys. All right. The spirit of prophecy came upon me. That's the clue. This is a vision. Okay, and remember, this is John. Most scholars say John the apostle having this vision, and then he says, as a great voice as of a trumpet, and basically it just means a very commanding, urgent voice, right? And keep in mind, this is a vision, okay? But he is hearing this. I don't know how many of you have experiences with visions, but you would understand just a little better. Okay. And then we have the 7 churches. All right. So now we go to 113, and we're gonna read the King James, and then there's a little difference here I just wanted to point out to you. So go ahead and read.
You want me to do
Read the
KJV?
KJV. Yeah, go ahead.
And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle.
Okay. Now the lamsa is the same, except notice the translation. I like to put these differences in there, and for whatever reason, in the King James, they always use the word paps, and I believe that that's Greek, but it is really breast, and you do find that the fair amount in other passages in the Bible. Okay, but we have amidst the candlesticks was the Son of Man. So if you can picture this, in the vision, here appears a man, what they're calling the Son of Man. Now, interesting thing about this, the Son of Man. Now, the translation actually of the Son of Man means human being. Okay, so he sees this human being in the candlesticks, and in this case, this human being is Jesus. Now, some of you know, I think about the differences in theologies where people will say to you, Jesus is God. Jesus was not a human being just like the rest of us. That's a difference in theology, okay? But the human being and Jesus, what Dr. Lanza taught is that Jesus was a human being just like all the rest of us, and that's what the entire Gospels, Jesus' entire mission, and our message from that is that Jesus was a human being. But when you see Son of Man, the actual translation is human being. But in this case, it is Jesus. Okay. All right. And so we have some more. When it says the vestment, the garment reaching to the feet. Okay, this really just was depicting the priestly garments. Um, it was the priestly vestment reaching to the feet and fastened around his chest. It a golden belt depicts the office of a priest king, and of course the golden girdle that was around him represents kingly power. Okay, and now we come to Revelation 1:14.
His head and his hair were white as wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
Okay, the color white is symbolic of light and purity. And appearances of, and I'm just going to call it spirit beings, because this was Jesus in spirit actually, um, are always white. Okay, and if you look in the Bible, you go back, and when Jesus, well, the prophets used these expressions all the time, to describe various various people, not just Jesus, but they would always, his appearance, because remember, the prophets the prophets were received their messages and visions too, and so you always see um, uh, white, okay, and light, or as in Mark 9:3. If you read about the transfiguration, it's in like Matthew and Mark. It's the same kind of appearance, the same kind of thing. And in this case, it's his appearance was like lightning, and his garments were white as snow. And of course, we always have pictures of angels. You know, we always see them in white. That's just the symbolism that goes with it. Okay. All right. And his eyes were as a flame of fire. Once again, you will see this whenever there are appearances or people are having visions. But we can relate it to nowadays, because, all right, eyes as a flame of fire, it just suggests sincerity and conviction. And we can tell when we look at people, many times we look at their eyes and we kind of know what they're all about. And like if somebody's angry or just really, their eyes will be different. So the eyes reveal the inner secrets of one's heart and mind, and have been called the windows of the soul. All right. So we have this being, if you can picture this vision that John is having, and we have the man, the white figure showing up amongst the candlesticks. And just to demonstrate, okay, I've got a quote here from Daniel. And so you can see that this is, and remember, Daniel was a prophet, and this was a vision. And just so you can see that that's the way they're portrayed in the rest of the Bible. So I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with glory and majesty. His appearance was peculiar, and there is nothing like it. And his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like the color of burnished brass, and the sound of his words like the sound of many armies. So it's throughout the Bible when people are having visions. That's the way it is. Okay, so if we go to Revelation 1:15, all right, and his feet were like the fine brass of Lebanon, as though they were burned in a furnace, and his voice was as the sound of many waters. Okay, so feet like brass. Culturally, the brass was from Lebanon back then, all right, and it was famed for its quality and strength. And of course, when it is burned, like in a fire, it shines like gold. And brass is symbolic of strength and endurance. So, um, so uh, we have the golden feet, and we have the white shining image with these really, really uh, outstanding eyes, fiery eyes, and and the voice. Okay, we just heard it was like a trumpet, when it, but his voice was as the sound of many waters. Okay, water is symbolic of light, and the sound of many waters here reference the announcement of Jesus' gospel of the kingdom of God, that it was to make throughout the world. Okay, because his teaching was to spread, and like a mighty river, water the dry and parched fields. So amidst all this symbolism and whatnot, is this really uh, just this really word message of Jesus and what he was trying to do. And Lord help us if we didn't have Dr. Lamza to translate all of this, to make us understand all of this, then it's no wonder that very few people understand the revelation, because these symbols and whatnot are extremely difficult to understand. So, okay, and here's a really significant here. You want to read that scripture?
And he had in his right hand 7 stars, and out of his mouth came a sharp 2-edged sword, and his countenance was like the sun shining in the earth.
In its strength.
In its strength, I'm sorry.
Okay, so now the 7 stars are 7 ministers or angels of the 7 churches. Now, I believe it's the King James. I didn't put the verse in here, but you will see, even in other parts of the Bible, mention about angels. Okay, and whenever we think of angels, it's like we always think of the white winged creatures or whatever, but in Aramaic, the word for angels, malacha, okay, is that is okay. It can be different things. It's a messenger from God. It can be that. It can be it can be like a counselor. An angel can be a counselor, okay, and in turn, then ministers of churches can be referred to as angels. And in this case, that's what we're talking about. Um, Now, here is the biggie, and here is where this starts the root of the whole thing about whether it's going to be a violent, a violent comeback and all of that. And out of his mouth went a sharp, two-edged sword. Okay, this is the place where you cannot take this literally, but this is what has happened with the theology behind the rapture, uh, whatever. This is what has happened. It's been taken literally. Okay. Out of his mouth went a sharp two-edged sword. Is a saying. You could call it an idiom, whatever, but it means an eloquent speaker who can answer any question and solve any problem. All right. And remember the vision, we know that this was Jesus. The vision, the Son of Man here as Jesus. And so Jesus was, and well, technically is, if you get through a vision, he was an eloquent speaker. He could solve any problem, answer any questions. He was very well versed in the Torah, and so that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about Jesus carrying a sword in his mouth and then slashing out at people and whatnot, because that's not what Jesus taught. That's not what he did, and that's not what he will do. Okay. His countenance was as the sun shineth in his strength. And so as this eloquent speaker and whatnot, I mean, Jesus was when well, he was radiant. He was really, the Near Eastern speakers are very animated, very, and in this case, we're talking about radiant, but of course, he was the in spirit form there, but represents great power and light. So, but keep that in mind whenever you hear people talking about Jesus coming back with a sword. Not so. Don't take that literally. Just go on, Martin. Take it. Okay. And last but not least, we have Revelation 1, 17, 18. Okay. And when I saw him, all right, this is as he turned around and now he's seen the image and whatnot. He recognized the image as Jesus. Okay. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And that just merely means when in the ancient Near East, you always would bow down on the ground to a king or whatever, and that really means that, I mean, as dead, he just went there, um, and well, like he was dead. He didn't move. But that's what they do. They bow down to the feet of the kings. Okay. And he laid his right hand upon me. Again, this is a vision now, saying, "Fear not, I am the first and the last." Okay, now notice it says right hand. Okay, another differentiation here. All right, right hand is good, left hand is not so good. Okay, and right hand is represents good, forthright. Left hand is kind of associated with evil. And so I can say firsthand, I guess that Martin and I are both evil because we're both left-handed. And so anyway, but that's where that comes from. The superstition about left hands. And if you're old enough, and if you were left-handed, or you remember people in school being left-handed, they always tried to force you to do right-handed. And this is where it comes from. Anyway, so and he laid his right hand upon me, saying, "Fear not, I am the first and the last." All right. And that just merely means I am the only messenger. Now, and the reason for that is because people in the churches had gone astray. There had been so many people come about them teaching different things, and that were contrary to Jesus' teachings. And so he is emphasizing to John that, look, I am the first and the last. This should be the only and the last messenger that you listen to. Don't listen to anybody else. And when it says, okay, I was dead and behold, I am alive, it just means I was unrecognized or unknown. It's an idiom. But now I am well known. Okay. And now we go. And when, okay, when he says, I am alive forevermore. Well, let's just reference back to the resurrection. And the resurrection, Jesus demonstrated that we don't die. Okay. And it's not just Jesus at the resurrection that didn't die, that could live on and did live on. It's everyone, every human. We don't die. We live on. Our spirit lives on. Okay. And so that's just, I am alive forevermore means through the resurrection, Jesus lives. That as we do. The same, our spirits, when our loved ones die, when we die, our spirits live on. And by the way, they're there for you. There's no question about it. The spirits, the spirit of whomever, your mother, your father, your friend, whatever, they're there for you. You just have to open up and understand about things like these visions and whatnot, and that they did not die. They're alive. Okay. Now, and let's go to this phrase, I have the keys of death and of Sheol. All right. Now, if you look up here at the King James, it says, I have the keys of hell and of death. All right. Now, I just wanted to explain something about, I wanted to explain something about hell and Sheol. All right. The King James Bible, most of our traditional Bibles, all right, they use the word hell throughout when, when you will see our Bibles use Sheol. Sheol was a place where the people of the Jewish faith, where they believed their souls went. It was a place deep in the earth, and dark, mysterious, deep in the earth. And their belief was that not even God had access to that place. Okay. Now that was the definition of Sheol. It was not where bad people went or good. It had nothing to do with that. It was just the place where their souls went, waiting for their version of the resurrection. Okay, but but just understand that when you read uh, the the King James or other, they will refer to hell, and of course we know that in Christianity, the doctrine, we have the doctrine of heaven and hell, where you go if you're bad, and when God roasts you and stuff like that. So I just wanted to explain that, okay? And when it says he has the keys, it means, all right, that he had the power and the authority even over Sheol, which their belief was that God didn't even have that, but um, Jesus was making it known that he had that power over Sheol. Okay, so that's kind of like, let me see here. Okay, this is the same verse. All right, but we're going to kind of sum up this verse with, you want to read that paragraph?
Jesus solved the mysteries of death by his resurrection. He proved that life is eternal and indestructible. The spiritual image of God that human beings possess is eternal and indestructible. Hence, because of Jesus, the Anointed One, there is no death. Humans now have a new and a true concept of God and life eternal. And I have just one little thing here. There is no hell. There is no hellfire. When you look at when you get a proper transition of this, you find out that it's extreme grief and torment that you put on yourself.
That's right. And that's another subject, but it's at the heart, once again, of the Aramaic scriptures. So, one thing I wanted to mention here, because like I say, some of you know this, but many of you don't if you've not studied any other Aramaic scripture. You see here that I have, you see the name Jesus Christ, okay? That is not correct. Christ is not Jesus' last name, okay? And so what I did here, and I do it sometimes too, it's Jesus, the anointed one, okay? And when they say, even if you say Jesus the Christ, they're talking about Jesus the anointed one, because Christ is Greek, from Christos, and the word in Aramaic is Mashiach, and so just keep that in mind when you're reading. It means Jesus, the anointed one, not Jesus Christ as first and last name. Okay, so that is that's the heart and soul of the symbolism and the vision that John is having. And remember his mission assigned to him in that vision was to relay to the seven churches Jesus' message to the seven churches, what he was told to write it in a book and then relay it to the seven churches. And so that's what comes next. Now, in chapters 2 and 3 are the messages to the churches. And so what we'll do with that, we can't read every verse, but I would tell you to read chapters 2 and 3, and next week we'll start out, if you have any questions about what that is, because basically what he's doing, what Jesus is saying in the vision is that the churches, kind of like churches everywhere, really, the churches, the seven churches, okay, they had started out as the Jesus' churches and his teachings and whatnot, but they had kind of gone astray in different, for different reasons. Mainly, they had departed from the teachings of Jesus. Some of them fell back onto idols and different behaviors and whatnot. So that's what you will see with those. So I would say read those and come back. Okay, now